good afternoon, and welcome. Welcome indeed, yes, to a Monday edition of the Mark Moses Show podcast. And for the first time in weeks, it's also a Victory Monday for this gentleman. Yes, he's got the sigh of relief on his face right now. Joining me on the Anidjar and Levine Accident Attorney Studios is Luke Easterling with Athlon Sports. Luke, how you doing, buddy?
It's nice, man. A Victory Monday is a good feeling. It was an ugly one. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't pretty, but they count just as much as the blowouts do. So we'll take it. Bucs are still in first place. It's a good place to be with 5 games left.
It was only a 1-possession win against the Cardinals. Like you said, not a pretty game, but you know what? When Tristan Wirfs is scoring touchdowns,
yep.
Let's start there. Give me your thoughts on that play.
I mean, it's a great call. I think it was nice to see it because honestly, Josh Grizzard has really been in a rut through this losing streak. Like I think him and Todd Bowles both just haven't really called great games in a lot of ways. I think Grizzard in particular has looked like a first-year offensive coordinator way too often. He just didn't seem to have it. So when you see a call like that and you see it, the timing and the execution, it all go really, really well. And obviously you get a big man touchdown and Tristan deserves that for how well he plays as a left tackle. It was a good feeling, I think, for all the players, but it also felt like a much needed win for a young offensive coordinator to call that and to get the right look and to execute it so great. So I thought that was huge for Grizzard for his confidence coming down the stretch here.
You know, it's funny. Every casual football fan knows this, where you have to declare that you are eligible as a receiver. They snapped the ball. No one took him seriously. Do you have to take him seriously, Tristan Wirfs, moving forward as a receiver?
I mean, you always have to have that in the back of your mind. The way that play works is that you can't just declare an offensive tackle eligible when you're going to do that, right? The only reason it works is because you run other plays where you just bring in an extra offensive lineman, you declare him eligible, but then you run the ball and you do that 4 or 5 times. Like you do it enough times to where it lulls the defense to sleep and the defense isn't, thinking when you come out to do it a 6th time, oh, this time they're going to throw it to the 325-pound guy. They're just assuming you're going to run it again, especially where they were on the field. They would like the 1 or 2 yard line. So you've got to set it up properly. Otherwise it's obvious. And the Bucs did a great job of doing that.
Him and Vita Vea, those guys are athletes, okay? For guys over 300 pounds, they will chase you down. Like, they are superstars. They are. Other guys we saw, hey, Bucky Irving. We saw, Chris Godwin, longest catch of the year. Are these positive signs for the team moving forward with this offense?
They are, man. And this is kind of what we've been talking about for the last month, where it was, this team has been so snake bitten with injuries so far this season on both sides of the ball. So many guys have been down for not just a game or two, long periods of time. And so you started looking ahead and saying, man, at some point, they're going to get Luke Gedeke back, which they do. They've got him back now at right tackle, which is huge. They're going to get Godwin back. They're going to get Bucky back. Mike Evans might start practicing this week, which I think is way earlier than a lot of people expected. Jalen McMillan might start practicing this week after missing the whole season with a neck injury. So this is kind of what we were hoping as Bucs fans that would happen down the stretch here, is that if you get through that gauntlet of the schedule, right, where it's New England, it's Buffalo, it's the Rams, it's the 49ers, it's the Bills, it's all these teams. And then you get to the back end of the schedule and it's Arizona, it's Carolina twice, it's Atlanta, it's the Saints, it's the Dolphins. Obviously, Carolina is looking like a much tougher opponent at this point. But this is what the hope was, that they would get to the point of the schedule that's easier and get to the point where all these guys are back healthy at the same time. Sunday was just a little glimpse of what that might look like. Again, it was a 1-score win against a really bad football team, so you can take that for what it's worth. But a win's a win. They're getting healthier. The games, again, those 2 Carolina games are going to be massive. But this is true, and shout out to Greg Allman, my good buddy who covers the NFL for Fox Sports, but he's a longtime Tampa guy. He made it clear that if the Bucs win their next 3 games, they win the division. It's over. Like, if they beat the Saints and then the Falcons and the Panthers 3 in a row, those last 2 games are not going to factor into the division standings. They would have a 10-win season at that point, and Carolina and Atlanta and New Orleans would have no shot of catching them over those last 2 weeks. So again, everything's in front of the Bucs right now. They've got those 2 against Carolina, they're huge. 2 over the last 3 weeks of the season, which I think is going to be huge. But if they take care of business against New Orleans this week, Atlanta, which is going to be at home on a Tuesday night throwback game, they're going to be wearing the creamsicles that night. They could go into that first Carolina game 3 weeks from now with a chance to clinch the division in week 16. So, man, they've got a real shot again as they continue to get healthier.
You bring up the Panthers. Was that the upset of the year, what they did yesterday, beating the Rams?
I think the Carolina Panthers are the most confusing team in the entire NFL because if you look at their schedule, it's like they lost multiple games by like 30 points, and they've lost multiple games to really bad teams, and then they go beat the Packers at Lambeau, and then they go beat the Rams. So it's just like after the Rams absolutely take the Bucs to the woodshed, right? It's just like it speaks to what I think is just a fantastic NFL season we've had so far. Like there's no dominant teams. The log jam, I mean, your Bears obviously are 9-3, or the number 1 seed right now, but there are wild card teams in the NFC with 9 wins, like that are going to barely get in at this point. There's 8-14. Like everything is upside down in the AFC, where you got the Chiefs that are like the 3rd or 4th team out on the bubble, like not even in the playoffs if they started today. And you got the AFC South has become super competitive, and you got the Broncos and the Chargers at the top of the West now. It's just such a fun season. And to bring it back to the Panthers, their season has been all over the place. You don't know what to expect from them on a week-to-week basis. And I think that speaks to what's happening across the whole league, that every week is its own little season, and every little matchup, every little, who's playing at home, what's the weather like, who's injured, who's not, what are the refs going to be like? Probably garbage, because they are most of the time. So many things can impact the game. You can't just look at, it's Rams Panthers. The Rams are rolling. They're the best team in the NFL. I'm taking the Rams. That Sunday's game proves that every single week you just don't know what you're going to get from any of these 32 teams.
It's interesting you bring that up with all these wins in the NFC. Again, so many with 9, 8. Buccaneers have 7. Is the NFC, is it a better conference this year than the AFC for the first time in a long time?
I don't know that it's better, just because on the AFC, again, you have a very similar situation where you've got the Jaguars and the Colts are both 8-win teams that are fighting at the top of the AFC South. The Chargers and the Broncos, again, are both atop the West, and so one of those teams is going to be a wild card team. I think both conferences are very well balanced right now. I think they're very equal to one another, and I think from top to bottom, again, from the 1st seed to the 7th seed, there's very little room. And so these last 5 weeks are going to have a huge impact, because we could see everything hold and we could see everything flip in the next 5 weeks. That's how slim the margin for error is. And it makes for great entertainment for those of us who just love the game.
All right. Hold on. All right. So who's losing? People keep winning every week. So is it the Titans, the Browns,
the Saints?
I know there's a pattern here. All these teams are just losing horribly.
The Jets won. They beat the Falcons, which is great for the Bucs. Bucs love that.
All right. So the Falcons are another team. It feels like there's 4 or 5 teams that are losing every week, helping everyone else out in this.
You know what hurts if you're a Falcons fan, by the way, is
what?
You keep losing and you don't have your 1st-round pick in next year's draft. You traded it already. So right now the Rams have a top 10 pick in this draft because it's the Falcons pick.
That is wild, dude. That is. All right, so the Buccaneers, like you said, you're getting these offensive weapons back. You have this schedule. Is there optimism now in this? I still think log-jammed NFC. Do you feel like, all right, if we can get right by the end of the year, we can make a run the playoffs? Are you starting to get hope after what happened against that Rams game 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, I mean, I've always had hope. Again, if this team is healthy, I'll take them against any team in the NFC, maybe even in the league, because we haven't seen that team yet. This team has not had their entire starting offense healthy at all this season, even going into week 1, because McMillan was hurt. They already had injuries. So like we are if we get that group at any point before or going into the playoffs, I think the Bucs are going to be as good as anybody in the league. Again, they're still working some things out. Baker Mayfield really hasn't played super well. He's missed too many throws on a weekly basis that just should be layups. Obviously, he's playing hurt. He's got the shoulder now, but he had a knee injury that was been nagging him beforehand, so he was already playing hurt. So he's less than 100%. We know that. But he's also playing without either of his two starting guards. Like they've been trotting out second, third, fourth string guys at both guard spots. And now they got the right tackle back, which is helpful. But it's just, if by the end of the season, we finally get to see an offense that has Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Emeka Ibuka, Jalen McMillan, Bucky Irving, Rashad White, Sean Tucker, most of that offensive line. I don't think Cody Maul could be back, but Ben Bredesen should be back at left guard. You might get Kalijah Cansey back at defensive tackle, the pass rushing kind of explosive guy to pair with Vita Vea on the inside, their best inside pass rusher. If that team gets on the field going into the playoffs, I don't think anybody's going to want to see the Bucs.
It's a great point. It is. All right, let's go back. The Cowboys. Are they likable now? Are they like an underdog? What are they? What is this team? What are they exactly?
Let's make it clear. Jerry Jones alone is enough to make this team unlikable always. So like that's like I will never like the Cowboys just because, and it makes me mad because there's players on that team that I love. I love Dak Prescott. I hate that every week I have to either be happy that Dak Prescott won, but sad that Jerry Jones is happy when they win, or the other way around. Because I love Dak. I think he's great. But no, they're not likable. I told my kids, we were watching the games on Thursday, and I was like, this is one of those games where I just hope both teams lose. Like I would just rather the Chiefs and the Cowboys lose. But no, I will say, you want to talk about teams that nobody wants to see in the playoffs. I don't think anybody wants the Cowboys to get in. I really don't want. I think that they are a spoiler road team in the wild card round that nobody wants to face, with that offense playing the way it is and that defense improving. You know, Jerry Jones, for all his faults, that Quinnen Williams trade looks really nice right now. He has been dominant. That defense is playing well enough. And kudos to Brian Schottenheimer. I mean, again, what that team has gone through with the loss of Marshawn Nealon, to lose a brother and a teammate in that way at this point in the season, and to try to navigate that as a group of just human beings, let alone a team that's trying to go out and win football games and practice and the mental and physical toughness it takes to do that. You know, that starts at the top with Brian Schottenheimer. And so kudos to him and that whole organization for the way they've navigated that. But that team is playing some spirited football. They're playing really, really balanced, complementary football, which is how you win late in the season. They can run the ball. They can make big plays through the air. If that defense is even average to above average down the stretch here, they're going to be a problem for any other team in the conference if they make it in.
All right. You do a great job with Athlon Sports talking about the NFL draft. When I look at the Cowboys right now, they have two big wide receivers who are dangerous and scary. Do you feel like when you're going to put a roster together on offense, you need that now moving forward? You need you need playmaking receivers that are fantasy studs. Is that how you build an offense now?
I think it really helps. And I think the challenge to that, though, is what the Cowboys are about to find out this offseason, is that you can't pay both of them most of the time. So right now they have CeeDee Lamb, who they've already paid. They have George Pickens, who is going to get paid by somebody, and rightly so, because he has been a huge, huge revelation for them this season after coming over from Pittsburgh. But I don't see Dallas paying George Pickens what he's worth while paying everybody else that they're already paying. And so, I mean, the only real example we have of this is in Cincinnati, where they paid Jamar Chase and T. Higgins this offseason. And, you know, you pay those guys, you have a bad defense and you have a bad offensive line. Like the money's got to come from somewhere, and you don't have enough. You have to draft so well, and you have to hit on those cheap 1-year deals that you sign late in free agency and get some guys that just overplay their pay grade. You have to be so good in every other area of your team building process if you're going to commit that much money to one position. And so we'll see how it works out long term in Cincinnati. In terms of drafting strategy, yeah, I mean, you want to get as many playmakers on the field as possible. Look at your Bears, right? I mean, you've got Odunze, who's a top 10 pick. They traded for DJ Moore. He was a first-round guy when he came to Carolina. You've got Colston Loveland, who's a top 10 guy. Top 40 pick, and Luther Burden III, who's coming on. Cole Kmet was a second-round pick. I mean, they have loaded up and invested in those weapons. But again, it's really the offensive line. It's having Caleb Williams. It's having Ben Johnson to maximize all those guys. It's not just, hey, let's get a couple of playmaking receivers and all our problems will be fine. It's man, we'd love to have those two guys, but we've only got them for a year or two before we have to pay them all. And if we do, then it becomes challenging to build out the rest of the roster.
That's why I look at the Rams. All right, look, they lost yesterday, 31-28. A pick six was in there as well. They got Devontae Adams for nothing. I thought he was washed up, and now he's the second best playmaker on that team. Dude,
they do. Listen, that is such a great example of a GM in Les Snead and a head coach in Sean McVay that have a clear, like cohesive vision for what a player is going to do for them, right? You can look and say, oh, he's about to turn 33. In Vegas, he looked kind of like a shell of himself for a lot of that time. You have to be able to know the player and to know yourself, your team, your offense, your style of play, all of those different roles. You have to know yourself and the player so well to be able to see that guy and say, in our system, in our offense, the way we're going to use him. And this is how it works in the draft all the time, right? It's, you will look at college film of a guy and be like, man, that guy didn't look great in that system for that school with that supporting cast. But for us, what we would ask him to do, what we would get out of his skill set, we think that guy can be really special. Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt in Washington this year, right? 7th round pick, barely played this season because of a weird eligibility issue. In Cliff Kingsbury's system as a 7th round pick, he's been fantastic. Kyle Monangai, same exact type of thing. Like, you can find those guys if you know what you're looking for and you know how they fit. Devontae Adams, I think he has like 670 something yards, but he has 14 touchdowns this season. Because when they get in the red zone, nobody can hang with him. He is such an elite route runner, one of the greatest route runners in the history of the game. So that when you get in that space, it's so hard to throw the ball normally in the red zone. But when you can create separation with the technicalities that he has in his route running arsenal, it's just, and oh, by the way, you have a future Hall of Famer throwing him the football in Matthew Stafford, who's precise and pinpoint with his accuracy, and he's got an elite arm strength, great decision maker. Those two guys together with Sean McVay's play calling and schematic prowess, like, it's just such a perfect example of how things can come together where you can't just write a guy off because he's older, because he looked bad somewhere else. This is a perfect example of how a quarterback and a receiver and a coach all connect together to make a guy look like the Hall of Famer I think Devontae Adams will eventually be.
It's a great point. Monangai, I don't know why it was in the 7th round. I don't get it. I don't understand.
People, I think too many teams get bored with guys. If you look at Kyle Monangai, all he did was produce at Rutgers, but he doesn't jump off the tape athletically. Like, he's not super fast. He's not super physical, like run you over for his size. He was just like a pretty good running back. And I think those guys tend to fall because they don't have an elite trait that jumps off the board that really gets people excited, or have like a specific 3rd down role where it's like, oh, this guy's going to be our pass catching specialist in these sorts of ways. He's just kind of a do it all, every man kind of running back. And those guys, I think they get the boring tag and they stay on the board longer than usual because they're just okay. And you feel like you can get them for a dime a dozen. Yeah. Well, he's David Montgomery now in Chicago for Ben Johnson. That's who he is now. He gets to play that power role, the thunder to DeAndre Swift's lightning. And it's, again, fit matters so much, usage matters so much, and can get so much value out of guys.
Where was Bucky Irvin drafted? What round was that?
He was a 4th round pick.
Another one, dude. This is,
yeah.
I talk about this all the time. I'm not taking a running back in the top 15 of round 1. I'm not.
Again, Bucky Irving's a great test too, because he was a guy that was like 5'9", 195 pounds, and ran like a 4.58, like ran like a high 4.5. So everybody's like, oh, if you're sub 200 pounds and you're not running in the 4.3s, like, what do I want with you? Like, you're not. And now he's one of the most explosive, exciting running backs in the league because people thought, oh, he's a 4.5 running back. Like, there's so much more to playing the running back position. And especially even being an explosive big play running back is so much more about short area quickness and vision, patience, understanding what's happening around you and being able to create space with movements that are very short. There was a great quote. I can't remember who said it. I think it might have been, Bum Phillips about Earl Campbell asking about his 40-yard dash. And they're like, oh, he's got a slow 40 time. He's like, well, if it's 1st and 40, I won't hand it to him then. Like, what the hell do I care? Like, watch Earl Campbell run and tell me he's less of a running back because he runs. Like, it's the same thing with Bucky Irving, but the opposite, where it's just like, oh, he runs a 4.58, so he can't be a home run threat. Yeah, okay. Tell that to everybody who tries to tackle him.
Was that in the new Bum Phillips documentary? Because I know one
It
just
might be.
out.
I saw someone else reference it, and it just Bum, what a great image! Like any head coaches should bring back the farmer like look with the blue jeans and the work shirt and the big ass cowboy hat. Like bring that back all day long. If you coach in the state of Texas, you should have to wear that on the sideline. That's my take.
You're the coach of the Houston Texans. That's the look. That's what you need to do.
Come on, D'Amico. Come on, D'Amico. Break out the big hat, baby.
To me, now I'm laughing. What'd you think of Ben Johnson taking his shirt off?
Elite decision. Great decision maker. I mean, you want to talk about a guy that has a finger on the pulse of his locker room and his fan base to know like the right time to push the right button. He knew it was time for the shirt to come off, and he was right.
What do you do to top that? That's the question. What do you, dude? In the moment. I'll just say in the moment. Weeks and weeks and weeks of the national just feel of everyone of this is a fraud. They're not good. They're winning kind of crazy. That was a statement on national television, and they ran it down their throat.
Well, I'll warn you too. They're still going to say that about you guys because this happened to the Bucs a couple of years ago when the Bucs wiped the floor with the Eagles in the wild card game, right? Everybody's well, it wasn't really the same Eagles, and the offense is kind of bad, and they're not really. It doesn't count. Like basically, blah blah blah. It doesn't count. Like they're going to find a reason to make it not count if they don't like you. So just be prepared for that this week. They're going to still keep talking about how it doesn't count. Just keep winning, baby. Like that's all that matters. You keep winning games. Everybody's going to have to talk about you eventually. And if they don't, they can stay silent while you hoist the Lombardi. I've seen that happen too. And that's just fine.
Well, they have the Packers on Sunday at Lambeau, 425 game of the week, right? And then
remember when the Bucs were nothing and Tom Brady was washed up and he had no shot and they were 7-5 and the Chiefs just beat them and they had no chance. And then they had to go on the road and beat Washington. And then they had to go beat Drew Brees on the road and Aaron Rodgers on the road. And oopsie, he won another Super Bowl. They can keep hating as long as they want.
Let's end with the Eagles. Something's wrong. So I watched the whole game. There's something wrong. Look, they're still making plays, but the body language, I've never seen it that bad before on a team that was 8-3 on national TV.
This is how bad their offensive scheme is. It's the body language is because the players have no faith in the system. They have no faith in the scheme. They know that if they're gonna play winning football on offense, it's all on them. Like they're not getting any help from the scheme. And again, we saw this with the Bucs in Brady's last season in Tampa when they had those injuries on the offensive line early in the season, and the scheme just made no adjustments for that, right? It was a scheme that heavily relied on Brady having all day to throw in the pocket. And when they lost Jensen early, they lost a couple other guys. Like they just never recovered because they never adjusted for the fact that Brady's not going to have 4 or 5 seconds in the pocket anymore. And they just fell apart because the players knew I've got to go out here and win my one-on-ones. Like I've got to win every rep. There's no scheming me open. There's no like Sean McVay's offense, like taking advantage of schematic things to make my job easier. They're just running us all out there and saying, hey, go be better than them. Have fun. And when that's why you can tell in the body language because they know like, listen, I'm a elite player. I have confidence in myself. I know I can beat my guy. But when it doesn't feel like your coaching staff is pulling their weight, when it doesn't feel like they're setting like your entire existence as a coach is to make it easier on your players to be the best versions of themselves. The Eagles are making it as hard as possible on offense for their offensive playmakers to be at their best. And that it shows up in the plays, it shows up in the effectiveness, but that's why you see disinterest from the players because they are frustrated that they're not getting the help they think that every player deserves from the coaching staff. And that's why, the scheme is boring. It's predictable. It's unimaginative. I don't know what else to say. It's obvious to everybody, the players more than anybody, what's going on there and what the problem is.
And I have no problem with that as a hater. So
yeah, right. Keep it rolling, Philly. Great job.
Let me tell you something. I think of play of the year so far in the NFL. Dude, we had committees in the offseason about should we eliminate the tush push? Should it not be an NFL play moving forward? When Noshawn Wright when he ripped that ball out of Jalen Hurts, and Hurts is not used to that. Well, they're just going to blow the whistle and I'll be fine. Yeah. He ripped that ball. 10-9 was the game. They're in the red zone. Rip that ball out. That might have ripped the soul out of the Philadelphia Eagles. That play
glorious.
Right there.
It's glorious.
And then Ben Johnson's taking his shirt off. So one day, if we win the Super Bowl, I'll take my shirt off, and so will you. All right? That's the guarantee here on the show. Luke Easterling, my man, thanks for your help. Have a great week. All right, buddy?
You too, Mark. Great to see you, buddy.